That's why I think it's really important to have this museum. I also think it's incredibly important to move the Latino Museum and the Women's Museum together. They have always gone together and been supportive of each other as we move this process forward. In 2020, Congress supported the creation of both the Women's and the Latino museums in the same bill. And I think that it is important that we continue, as we move this bill, that we also move the Latino Museum forward, because both of them deserve to be on the National Mall. And Mr. Cortez, isn't it true that there is enough room? Depending, and we might not know exactly where each one will be, but there is enough room on the National Mall to accommodate both museums. Is that correct?
Madam, the Smithsonian did recommend 2 sites that are on the mall. The Regents did approve and recommend that. One is the Tidal Basin and one is the South Monument.
Right, so there's space for both of them, and I think we should continue to move both of them. And the other thing that is interesting about needing to move both of them and pass both of these bills and keep them going is that there are impacts on fundraising, I understand. Like if we don't have the space preserved and identified, we're doing a great job on the fundraising. But wouldn't it be better if we could actually start saying this is where it will be? Congress has said we're gonna find a place for both of these incredible stories of our American history on the mall.
Both the Women's History Museum and the National Museum of American Latino have been equally successful in raising funds, now approximately $70 million. But it is true, when you get federal support for the designation of the site, you actually have the site designated. That does encourage and provide much more opportunity to raise funds after the site is designated.
So let's get both of these sites designated, and then we'll continue that hard work, raising the money to tell these incredible stories, the hero's journey that is America, that is about struggle, that is about overcoming all of the struggles we've had in this nation over the last 250 years as we pursue that happiness that is part of our constitutional birthright. And with that, Madam Chair, wouldn't it be nice to be able to say Madam Chair all the time? Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
You don't want to have any Mr. Chairmans?
Well, I don't mind a few, but I don't
The gentlelady yields. I would just point out to you that Georgia O'Keeffe has her roots in the state of Wisconsin.
She does.
I'd like to
amazing.
recognize Ms. See, we're getting them all mixed up here. Ms. Malloy from Utah, we'd like to recognize you for 5 minutes.
I thought you were going to call me Madam Chairman, which would be inaccurate but flattering. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lytle, I'm going to go over some legal truths that I know you know, but just to set the stage for the questions I want to ask you. So Congress has plenary jurisdiction over federal land, and Forest Service has delegated authority from Congress to manage national forests. And then we, Congress, have an obligation to oversee how the Forest Service uses that delegated authority. And this is the second hearing I've been in the last month where we've had an issue in Utah where a local entity in counties in Utah are trying to get something done on Forest Service land. And we've ended up having to write legislation to get it done. And then the Forest Service shows up at a hearing like this and says, we wish you would just wait and let it go through the administrative process. And the reason I want to talk through all that is because I think we have this upside down or backward or somehow out of order where the agencies that Congress authorized are coming and telling us to wait for the agencies to do their work and that we shouldn't be legislating it. And generally, I think government should do whatever it's doing in the most efficient, most cost-effective way that serves the people. And I agree with you in theory that administrative processes should be the most efficient, most cost-effective way. But when we have people calling us and saying, we've been trying to work with the Forest Service for years on what should be a simple permit, and we're not there yet, then legislation starts to look like it's actually more efficient. And while I agree that it should be easier to go into your local Forest Service office and work through a permitting process, that just doesn't seem to be the case. And so we end up legislating, and legislating is well within our job as legislators, but it's also well within our plenary jurisdiction on public land. So will you walk me through why Forest Service thinks that going through an administrative process to complete the Bonneville Shoreline Trail is a better solution than legislation?
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. We feel like we are in a good place right now with the progress that we have made. As I mentioned earlier, we are 6 months away from construction on the trail, perhaps a year away from construction on 2 bridges that would tie the trail through this parcel. That being said, we want to work with the city, with the county, with this committee, with Congress, in whatever ways can do this most expeditiously. And we think right now where we are positioned, the administrative processes will yield a result more quickly than a land conveyance might because of some of the technical aspects of what we have to do to convey land. Now, we would be happy to talk with the committee, with the bill sponsor, and others about what those technical issues might be to see if we could clarify and move forward in that way. But we feel like we're in a good place right now and look forward to continuing to work with the county and with the city.
So can you tell me how long ago Davis County started this process with the Forest Service?
I do not know. I cannot speak to anything, to the long history that exists in this place. What I do know is that we are committed to working with the city and with the county to resolve this. We understand how important recreation is to the local community, to the citizens, to economic development. And we are committed to working with the city and the county to make sure that that happens.
I like hearing you say that, and I hope that we can get this done expeditiously. Excellent use of a $5 word. But my notes say that it's been at least 3 years that the county's been trying to get this done. And this is creating access in an area that's mostly developed so that people can get out, enjoy the outdoors, get some exercise, enjoy the Forest Service and the land that's in their backyard. It just seems like we've got to come up with a better solution where doing these hearings about really simple permits isn't the most efficient way to solve problems. We created agencies to serve the people, and it seems like what we're getting is a lot of roadblocks and a lot of stalling. I mean, even your answer, which I think is an accurate and fair answer, is that if we do a conveyance, then there's more process that's going to take even longer, and the process is supposed to facilitate solutions, not be the reason we never get to solutions. And I see that I'm out of time. So with that, I will yield. But quickly, in 5 seconds, Mr. Cortez, I also support the idea of having a women's history museum.
Thank you.
Gentlelady yields. I now recognize the ranking member of the subcommittee, Mr. Neguse, for his question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses, and of course, thank you to the members. And my apologies. Thank you for indulging me as we have multiple committee proceedings today. But it is a pleasure and a privilege to be here and to continue doing our important work addressing the wildfire crisis. I'm grateful to my colleague, Representative Min from California, for his leadership on the Brush Fires Act, a vital step towards mitigating wildfire risk in sagebrush and ecosystems, requiring unique tools from other forested areas. Of course, I know we're also discussing today the bill led by Senator King of Maine to expand the Waters National Monument in Maine, supported by a wide variety of different stakeholders. Certainly grateful that the Smithsonian is represented here today to share their views on H.R. 1329, the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum Act, a bipartisan bill that's been co-sponsored by more than half of the House, and certainly time that we enact it into law. I would be remiss if I didn't similarly urge consideration of H.R. 1330, the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Latino Act. These key institutions deserve prominent places on the National Mall to lift up stories that add to the incredible fabric of our country, especially important as we mark the 250th anniversary of this country. We'll also consider Representative Hurd's bill, my friend from Colorado, H.R. 5911, the Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act. Appreciate his leadership on that particular piece of legislation. Know how important it is to Western Colorado, which we both proudly serve, and certainly supportive of that bill. And I know that we'll also be discussing the LASSO Act from my friend from Arizona. I suspect he knows my views on that bill, given that we've had discussions on that in the past in this committee. And while I disagree with the legislation, I look forward to the robust discussion that I know we'll have on the same. With that, I want to say thank you to both of our witnesses for being here. I know that my colleague, the ranking member, covered some ground, Mr. Cortez, with you regarding the directives that the White House have issued to the Smithsonian that I find profoundly problematic. But I also recognize you are a career official at the Smithsonian. And so in light of that, I will simply say that I echo the sentiments that were expressed by the ranking member with the hope that you and your colleagues at the Smithsonian, those who have jurisdiction or authority over this particular issue, will come back to us with the information that he requested. You can imagine, as we mark Black History Month this month, on the heels of celebrating the first Martin Luther King Day holiday in which national parks no longer had a fee holiday by virtue of this administration's decision. And in light of that letter that was issued to the Smithsonian, you could imagine the concern of me and many of my colleagues. So anyway, not necessarily a question, just want to reiterate Mr. Huffman's concerns.
Point noted, and I will convey your concerns.
And secondly, Mr. Lytle, of a similar vein, because I know that you are also a career official. As you might imagine, I'll speak for myself, but I think I can fairly say on my side of the aisle, has some very profound disagreements with the way in which the Department of Agriculture is administering a variety of different programs impacting our national forests through your agency. And one of those is the reality of the administration's plan to eliminate regional research hubs. And while I know that's not, I suspect it isn't a plan that you helped devise or author, given that you were formerly the head of the research at the Forest Service before your current position. You can disabuse me of that, obviously, if I'm wrong on that front. Were you involved in the plan to eliminate research hubs? I take it no.
Ranking Member DeGoose, no, I was not directly involved in those discussions.
Yeah. And so I would just simply say, rather than belaboring this and hectoring you, I think really what we need is testimony from the political appointees within the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Interior about the reorganization plans, among many other issues, which I think, again, as I said, there are substantive disagreements. And that is less a question to you, and I think more a signal to our chairman here and for the chairman of the full committee that we're overdue for an oversight hearing in that regard so that we can ask some tough questions about both of the subjects that I just mentioned. But with that said, I will yield back the remaining 1 second of my time.
Ranking member yields. I now recognize Mr. Gosar from Arizona for 5 minutes of questioning.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Lytle, in your testimony, you mentioned the Forest Service opposes the LASSO Act as currently written because revenues are not defined. We agree. Would you commit to a conversation to further discuss the mechanics of this bill and identify eligible funding sources?
Congressman, absolutely.
Gotcha. Well, I for long have seen our problems with public lands, and we seem to get more and more regulations to them, and they get walled off from us. And if I know one thing, you have to empower the people to have that jurisdiction. Would you also agree on that?
I'm sorry, sir, would you mind
Public
repeating
lands
that?
public lands are public lands, not bureaucrats' lands, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the Secure Rural Schools program was created to supplement the loss of revenue from the decreases in local timber sales on federal lands. President Trump's March 2025 executive order expanding domestic timber production was an important step to solve this problem. Are the U.S. Forest Service lands currently being used to their maximum potential under their multiple use doctrine?
Congressman, thanks for the question. We are focused on a number of priorities, timber management, timber production being one of them, but also oil and gas development, mineral development, wildland fire mitigation, as well as recreational opportunities. We are focusing on all of those and trying to deliver those for the American people.
So what you're describing to me is FLPMA or the Tailored Grazing Act jurisdiction, would it not be?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So last summer, northern Arizona was devastated by the Dragon Bravo fire. Forest management techniques like thinning and grazing mitigate the risk of wildfires. But the Biden-Harris administration failed to responsibly manage the Forest Service lands. What successful techniques has President Trump and Secretary Rawlins deployed to mitigate these wildfire risks?
Congressman, again, thanks for the question. As I mentioned, we are focused on a number of key priorities, and we are working very hard to mitigate wildland fire risk across the country, especially in those places with immediate risk to lives, property, and infrastructure.
So I guess since I got a little time here, I guess I'll go down this adventuring road. So there's lots of opportunities within the public sector, right? You know, Teddy Roosevelt took a lot of lands into custody, and thank God he did. But then the Taylor Grazing Act, people came and collected a lot of the other ones. They use the word must and shall, right? They do.
Yes, sir, as far as I understand, yes.
Yeah. And grazing rights. Now, grazing was supposed to be improved, was it not? You had to improve it year to year, right?
I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat that?
Yes, the grazing rights under the Taylor Grazing Act was you had to improve the grazing rights, right?
Sir, that is a little bit beyond my area of expertise, but what I can tell you about our approach to grazing is that we are working very hard under the Secretary's direction to expand access and expand grazing opportunities on Forest Service lands.
So you'll agree with the multiple use doctrine then, that you can have many things going on at the same time in a piece of land?
Oh, absolutely, sir, every day.
Well, I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields, and I now recognize the gentleman from Colorado for his questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Deputy Chief Lytle, thanks for being here. And I appreciate the constructive testimony you gave on my bill, the Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act. And that bill includes a number of terms and provisions meant to protect federal and public interests. And I'm just actually reading from your testimony, things like the bill requiring the city to grant an easement for each trail and road in existence as the date of the conveyance, the city of Ouray taking responsibility for the costs of the Full Moon Dam and related infrastructure, the city maintaining the land in perpetuity for public access and recreational activities. The bill would also prohibit development, commercial operations, construction, other than is needed for maintenance and operation of the dam and the reservoir, and would also prohibit expanding the historical footprint of Crystal Reservoir in a manner that would harm any of the wetlands that are upstream. Can you comment on those parts of the bill and on protecting federal and public interests more generally?
Congressman, thanks for the question. We value the partnership that we have developed with the city of Ouray, and we share many of the goals, actually probably all of the goals that the city has for that property. We are generally supportive of the bill, and we have a few technical areas of interest that we would like to work out regarding water rates, for instance, and regarding a drainage ditch, a water conveyance ditch, that we would like to make sure that we are handling properly.
Was this the Red Mountain Ditch or Red?
It is, yes, it is.
Great. Terrific. Happy to look at that with you. From the Forest Service perspective, does transferring ownership to a capable and willing local government reduce federal liability associated with aging infrastructure, like, for example, the Full Moon Dam?
Congressman, in this case, absolutely. The Full Moon Dam, we know has some structural deficiencies that we are concerned about, which is why we opened the headgates. And we are very pleased that the city is willing to partner with us and take responsibility for that. That's a wonderful step, and we look forward to working with the city on that.
Great. And given the Forest Service's deferred maintenance backlog, can you talk a little bit about what a locally funded conveyance like this does with respect to the agency's long-term fiscal and operational responsibilities?
Congressman, you are correct that we have a substantial deferred maintenance backlog, and all of the public-private support that we can generate to help address those issues is welcomed. And this is one example of a public-public partnership that I think can really serve the public's good.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Deputy Chief Lytle. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. I now recognize the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore, for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Chairman. I really appreciate gentle lady from Utah, Ms. Malloy's involvement in this and what she just communicated and the questions that she's and your guys' interaction. I fully associate myself with that and want to build on that. The only thing I care about here, and I'm as sincere and as transparent as I can say it, is a proper outcome. So that's all I care about. I want a proper outcome for my community, my constituents, and the area that I represent. We both actually share this county and care deeply that this gets handled. That's it. It's very simple. What is the goal? What is the outcome? The outcome is access, maintenance, and stability for the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. It's one of the most unique elements along the Wasatch Front in our entire region for recreation. We need different sections of this to be continuous. We've done multiple things like this. Representative, when he was in the House, Representative Curtis had done Bonneville Shoreline Trail work. This has always been something that's been collaborative, recognize that there's a need. I believe it is a shared goal and something that we can accomplish here. So a few questions for discussion. Dr. Lytle, is there any laws that prohibit the Forest Service from continuing work on federal land when a proposed land conveyance is being considered by Congress?
Congressman, I don't have direct knowledge of all of the laws that might apply, but to my knowledge, no. But we can get back to you with more specific information on that.
Would it be reasonable for the Forest Service to pull out of ongoing, or would it be normal to pull out of ongoing conversations with a local government as a result of land conveyance being considered? Maybe not yet enacted, but being considered by Congress.
Congressman, it is our goal to work hand in hand with the communities in which we exist and where we partner. And in this case, we want to continue to work with the city of Fruit Heights, with the county, to ensure that we can connect the trail through this parcel.
And mentioned other experiences with Congress, local, and Forest Service, where we've done that numerous times in our communities. Will you commit the Forest Service to meeting with my office, the City of Fruit Heights, and Davis County to coordinate efforts with this land and sign a memorandum of understanding that creates a clear timeline for work to be completed of this land, regardless of the status of this bill before it could get signed into law?
Congressman, we are more than happy. We look forward to sitting down with your office, with the city, with the county, to work out the details of implementation of a plan for finishing the trail work in this parcel. Whether an MOU is the right mechanism, I can't speak to. There may be other mechanisms that would serve that purpose, but yes, we will absolutely sit down with you, and I commit to that.
Our concern is that this isn't just communicate. I think there needs to be something concrete. That's what the concern is here, right? Is that we've got to have this to be concrete, not just because there's threat of legislation. Like this is good legislation. The city has come to us. This is something that they want. I'm ready to move forward with it. This is, I really appreciate the committee for being willing to move this in a good, solid way that has viability. But if we can get this done, we're all in as well. And we look forward to being able to finalize those plans. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman.
Yes, yes, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask one more question, Chief, or Doctor. People would take care of the land if they were given custody of that. Would you agree?
Congressman, I think that's there's a larger question that you're asking there about the responsibility for public lands. And we are entrusted with the care of the public lands that the Forest Service is entrusted with. And we do our very best to care for those lands. Under conveyances, where those lands may be transferred to another jurisdiction, we will work with those jurisdictions to make sure that that happens well and that we do this in the right way.
I guess my whole point is stewardship is closest to the land, the people to the land, right? You would agree with that?
Congressman, absolutely. Stewardship is a responsibility of those who are there on the land, whether that's our federal employees who care very deeply about the lands that they are entrusted with, the other local governments that we work with, or private individuals.
Good. I yield back.
Thank you. I'll just briefly end with, like, we're so committed to this, and we appreciate your testimony. I think there is plenty of precedent in our state to be able to get this done. We look forward to working together. And I also support the Women's History Museum. There you go.
Does the gentleman yield? Thank you. If there are no further questions, we will now move on to our third and final panel. I'd like to thank the witnesses for their valuable testimony. You are now dismissed. While the clerk resets your witness table, I will remind the witnesses that under committee rules, they must limit their oral statements to 5 minutes, but their entire statement will appear in the hearing record. I'd also like to remind our witnesses of the timing lights, which will turn red at the end of your 5-minute statement, and to please remember to turn on your microphone when you speak. As with the second panel, I will allow all witnesses to testify before member questioning. First, I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Hurd, for 30 seconds to introduce our first witness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my pleasure to briefly introduce our witness from Colorado's 3rd Congressional District, Michelle Matier. Michelle currently serves as the administrator of URA, where she is leading efforts to responsibly manage and maintain critical water infrastructure, including the Crystal Reservoir and Half Moon Dam. Michelle brings more than 15 years of municipal leadership experience from her time with the town of Minturn, culminating in her role as town manager. She is a graduate of Colorado State University and has degrees in biology and organizational leadership. And with those degrees, she combines technical knowledge with strong administrative expertise. I appreciate her willingness to share her insights today and look very much forward to her testimony. Thank you, Madam Chair, and with that, I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Hurd. I will now recognize Ms. Michelle Matier, City Administrator for the City of Ouray, Colorado. Ms. Matier, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chairman Tiffany, Ranking Member Neguse, and members of the subcommittee, on behalf of Mayor Underwood and the entire Ouray City Council, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to testify on the Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act. I would also like to very much thank Representative Hurd for his leadership in sponsoring this bill and introducing it during a government shutdown, given the urgency of enabling the city of Ouray to take ownership, repair the Full Moon Dam, and refill the reservoir. The Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act directs the Secretary of Agriculture to convey approximately 45 acres of land underlying and surrounding Crystal Reservoir and Full Moon Dam to the city of Ouray, Colorado. We are here today because the reservoir has been drained while the United States Forest Service reviews the options available for addressing the repairs and maintenance needed to operate the Full Moon Dam. The city recognizes the need for improvements and repairs to the Full Moon Dam in order to refill the reservoir. And due to our dependence on the reservoir's storage water, along with other benefits this asset provides, we are uniquely positioned to execute the proper repairs and ongoing maintenance of this facility while simultaneously supporting this asset remaining open and accessible to the public. The benefits of the Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act include 1, the restoration of local control. 2, the repair and refill of Crystal Reservoir while relieving the United States Forest Service from the burdens of operational costs, maintenance, and liability. While this bill allows for the conveyance to occur at no cost to the city, in exchange, the city will assume all future costs and liability for repairing the Full Moon Dam and refilling the reservoir within the original footprint of the lake. The congressionally directed conveyance is the most efficient and effective way to swiftly restore Crystal Reservoir's function and beauty. The city will work with the state of Colorado, the Division of Water Resources, the Department of Natural Resources, the design and dam safety engineer, along with the City Works, Public Works, engineering, and legal teams to implement the repairs at its own expense. The city will take responsibility for all future operations and maintenance of Crystal Reservoir, Full Moon Dam, and associated infrastructure, also at its own expense. 3, restore drought resistance and water security that was lost when Crystal Reservoir was drained. Ownership of Crystal Reservoir will enable the city of Ouray to enhance water security for its residents, improve drought resilience, and implement conservation strategies consistent with the Colorado Water Plan's objectives. Additionally, the city of Ouray currently has decreed water rights for the exchange and storage of Crystal Reservoir through the Red Mountain Ditch. The city needs this augmentation water from Crystal Reservoir to legally and reliably operate its municipal water system under Colorado law, particularly during times of low flow conditions. 4, repair a critical public safety and wildfire response asset where it is needed most. With increasing threats of wildfire in the San Juan Mountains, the reservoir serves a critical role in regional wildfire mitigation. Ouray County Sheriff Justin Perry has expressed the need for this critical resource as follows, quote, "Crystal is a crucial water source for fast, effective fire suppression. To ensure we're prepared for future emergencies, it's imperative that we refill this reservoir and make it a key asset in our wildfire response strategy," unquote. 5, provide permanent protections for free and full public access to the reservoir and adjacent national forest lands. The Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act includes strict requirements to keep the land as undeveloped, public, open space with free access for fishing and trails in perpetuity. 6, the upstream fen and wetlands ecosystems will be protected from impairment or harm from the operation of the reservoir. 7, the city will safeguard all valid existing rights while prohibiting future development and related conflicts and will return Crystal Reservoir and Full Moon Dam to the status quo conditions and uses enjoyed over the last 90 years. And lastly, the Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act will satisfy broad and strong local support for the conveyance, repair, and restoration of this resource. We have broad support from the Red Mountain Project proponents that purchased Crystal Reservoir over 2 decades ago. We also have support from local entities, including the Colorado River District, the Ouray County Sheriff's Office and Board of County Commissioners, many neighboring municipalities, as well as watershed, trail, and historical organizations. I would especially like to thank Ouray County Commissioner Lynn Padgett for her support of this conveyance, including joining us here today. This concludes my testimony, and I'm happy to answer questions from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mateer. I will now recognize Mr. Moore from Utah for 30 seconds to introduce his witness.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm honored, and one of my favorite things to be able to introduce local officials in these hearings. Darren Fransden is the Fruit Heights City Manager. He has had a little bit of time in public service, previously as City Works Director, and has been working for the city for, I believe, over 30 years. Brings a wealth of knowledge, and I look forward to your testimony. Thank you for being here, Mr. Franson.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I will now recognize Mr. Darren Franson, City Manager of Fruit Heights City, Utah. Mr. Franson, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Chair and Ranking Member Negos and honorable members of the Subcommittee on the Federal Lands, thank you for inviting me to testify for Fruit Heights City's Land Conveyance Act. I appreciate Congressman Blake Moore and his office for their continued work and support on this legislation. My name is Darren Franson. I have worked for Fruit Heights City since 1993, beginning in the Parks Department, later serving as Public Works Director, and for the past 2 years as City Manager. Fruit Heights is a small bedroom community of approximately 6,000 residents and is nearly 97% built out. The city is located in Davis County, Utah, approximately 20 miles north of Salt Lake City. It is situated along the east bench of the Wasatch Mountain, commonly known or referred to as the Wasatch Front, and is directly adjacent to a critical yet partially unconstructed gap in the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, the BST. In 2023, Fruit Heights began to explore opportunities to add additional recreational trails to those that have already been built. One of these trails is known as the Fruit Loops mountain bike trails. The Fruit Loops are used by local high school mountain bike teams for training and competitions, families, recreation biking groups, and riders of all ages and skill levels. The Fruit Loops have become a popular destination, not only from surrounding communities, but all of Davis County. I personally have talked to families that had heard about the Fruit Loops and came to see and ride Fruit Loops from Idaho. With very limited open space remaining within the city boundaries, former Mayor John Pullman in early 2024 began working with the U.S. Forest Service to explore opportunities to add additional trails on the Forest Service property. Fruit Heights submitted a formal needs request to the Salt Lake City Forest Service. Mayor Pullman and city staff actually met on site with the Forest Service representatives to discuss the potential of trails locations on the Forest Service property and the city's long-term vision for recreation and connectivity. While the Forest Service did not object to the proposed trail system, they identified several requirements that would need to be addressed, including issues related to the BST. The Bonneville Shoreline Trail is a popular scenic multi-use trail designed to follow the ancient shoreline prehistoric Lake Bonneville along the foothills of the Wasatch Front. Davis County, along with other counties, municipalities, has worked with the Forest Service for many years to construct and connect this regional trail system. Challenges associated with the segment of our Fruit Heights have slowed the progress in this area, resulting in the city missing a grant opportunity for which it otherwise would have qualified. In response, Mayor Pullman discussed potential ways to streamline and accelerate the process, which led to discussion with Congressman Moore regarding to the possibility of conveying the land to Fruit Heights and to the city of Farmington. The BST alignment now has been determined, and the portion above Fruit Heights is scheduled to start summer 2026, if everything is correct with the Forest Service in the county. Fruit Heights supports the building of the BST and appreciates all the work that Davis County and the Forest have done to this point. The goal of this land conveyance is to preserve undeveloped open space that will remain protected from development, provide recreational opportunities for Fruit Heights residents and surrounding communities. By building additional trails, connecting the cities of Farmington, Fruit Heights, and Kaysville to the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, supporting local schools through accessible trail systems, and encourage residents to engage in outdoor activities. Fruit Heights is committed to expanding recreational opportunities for residents and visitors. Communities that promote outdoor activity and access to recreation can experience improved public health outcomes and reduce long-term health costs. By preserving open space and developing accessible trail systems, Fruit Heights seeks to create a lasting benefit for its residents and for the Wasatch Front as a whole. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and I am available for questions you'll have for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franzen. I'd now like to recognize Mr. Chris Ham, President of Orange County Firefighters IAFF Local 3631. Mr. Ham, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Malloy and subcommittee members. Thank you for this opportunity to testify today. My name is Chris Ham. I'm a fire captain, and I have the honor of being the president of Orange County Professional Firefighters, representing 1,200 men and women that serve 23 cities, the county unincorporated area, state and federal lands, including areas that border the Cleveland National Forest. In Southern California, the line between wildland and the built space is no longer a line. It is a blur. Our homes, schools, hospitals, and critical infrastructure sit directly against shrublands, canyons, and federal forest. So it starts as a brush fire on a slope, becomes an urban problem in minutes. The coastal fire in Laguna Niguel in May of 22 is a clear example of this. A rapidly moving brush fire outside our typical fire season and without significant winds ignited a dry coastal vegetation. It burned roughly 200 acres, destroyed 20 homes, valued at nearly $200 million, while damaging at least a dozen more, all in a community in South Orange County that the layperson would characterize as a suburban community. To make matters worse, this community had defensible space and was built with strict wildfire construction codes. Those homes were not remote cabins, they were multi-million-dollar residents, in a dense coastal community with steep slopes and limited ways out. High localized wind, drought, stressed brush, and invasive grasses allowed that fire to run quickly up canyon walls and into backyards, overwhelming well-prepared defensible space and pre-positioned hose lines. Subsequent investigations have tied the ignition to electrical equipment, showing how quickly a spark in the wildland urban interface can translate into a mass evacuation event with families fleeing for their lives. Thanks to the rapid response and hard work of our firefighters, no deaths were attributed to this incident. We saw the other side of this problem with the airport fire, adjacent to the Cleveland National Forest, on September 2024, and ultimately burned 23,000 acres across Orange and Riverside counties, primarily under the jurisdiction of the Cleveland National Forest. That fire threatened and destroyed homes in communities like El Carrizo Village, Deckert Canyon, and burned through recreational cabins on federal lands, and forced long-term closures in Trabuco Ranger District to protect public safety because of hazards like unstable slopes, damaged roads, and tree fall risk. That forest now is kept under much of that burn scar closed in 2026. From a firefighter's perspective, there's a fundamental operational difference between fast-moving fires in light flashy fuels and fires burning in heavy timber and large 10,000-hour fuels. In the light fuels that dominate our coastal slopes and much of the wildland-urban interface, annual grasses, invasive weeds, and shrublands, fires ignite easily, respond almost instantly to wind, and erase any meaningful separation between the wildland and structures. In heavy timber and large down material, fire behavior can be intense and long duration, but the boundary between the forest and developed area is often more defined, which allows for clearer planning, constructive fuel breaks, and defensive tactics around structures. The challenge in Southern California is that we have both conditions layered together. A fire may start in light flashy fuels below a neighborhood, quickly transition into structure fires as embers land on roofs and in backyards, and then run into the forest, heavier brush and timber on federal wildlands, becoming a large, long-duration incident like the airport fire. That means when we respond, we are simultaneously managing a wildland fire, multiple structure fires, and a federal land incident, often being managed by the initial responding units. Fire is and always has been part of our natural landscape, but what we're seeing now is not the historic fire regimen for those ecosystems. Year after year, fires prolonged drought, and the spread of invasive grasses and weeds have fundamentally altered the shrubland ecosystems like chaparral and coastal sage scrub. These invasives create continuous carpets of fine fuel that dry early, carry fire farther and faster, and then reestablish quickly after a burn. Along with more developments encroaching into the wildland, we are locked into a cycle of shorter fire return intervals, higher intensity, and more frequent structural loss at the edge of communities. This is exactly the pattern along our coastal slopes and in canyons draining into the Cleveland National Forest. That is why I'm here in strong support of Congressman Dave Minn's Brush Fires Act. Our frontline firefighters and communities we protect. This bill matters because it acknowledges that shrubland fire is its own problem, not just a smaller version of a forest fire. It will force a hard look at which strategies work under Southern California's wind, slope, and fuel conditions, where we should prioritize treatments in the wildland-urban interface, and what policy and budget barriers keep us from doing the right work in the right places. In my view, the Brush Fires Act is not an academic exercise. It is a necessary step towards a realistic, shrubland-specific playbook for places exactly like the communities my members serve. I urge the subcommittee to advance the Brush Fires Act and to pair it with sustained support for implementing its findings in shrubland-dominated, high-value, high-population regions like Southern California. Our firefighters are ready to do the work. We need the federal government to give us the specific science, policy, and tools to match the threats we face. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ham. Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Margaret Byfield, Executive Director of American Stewards of Liberty. Ms. Byfield, you are now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Do I say Chairwoman Malloy?
You can if you would like to.
Okay. Since we had a nice switch, thanks to your bill. So, Chairman Malloy, Representative Gosar, and honorable members of this committee, I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the importance of passing the Land and Social Security Optimization Act, the LASSO Act. My name is Margaret Byfield. I serve as the Executive Director of American Stewards of Liberty, and we're a property rights organization that has been around for about 34 years. We have members all across the nation, many of whom are the people who steward our federal lands. They are the ranchers, farmers, timber producers, miners, oil and gas developers, hunters, and recreationists, the people who have made these lands their homes and who support our vital rural communities. I was raised on a large livestock operation in Nevada, where we held the right to graze lands managed by the Forest Service and the BLM. Through both personal and professional experience, I have seen the damage caused to families, communities, and economies when our federal lands are not utilized as Congress intended. This is why I believe the LASSO Act is needed. First, it will highlight the federal mismanagement of these lands and help correct this by creating a direct link for every American citizen to benefit from the important multiple uses of our natural resources. Second, it incentivizes the proper stewardship of these lands by tying the citizens' prosperity to the flourishing of our abundant natural resources. And third, the bill helps accomplish the original purpose for these lands, multiple use and sustained yield. It is Congress that determines the purposes for these lands, not the federal agencies. And this body has made a distinction between lands that are to be protected and lands that are to be productively used. Those that are protected are done so through laws such as National Parks Act, Wilderness Act, Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, National Wildlife Refuge Act, and more. The remaining federally owned lands outside of what is owned by the Department of Defense are generally identified as multiple use lands. These have been set aside for the specific purpose of providing our nation with the natural resource commodities we need to support the health, safety, and welfare of the people, and the continued prosperity of our nation. Congress has directed the federal agencies to manage these lands in such a manner that all of the uses can occur concurrently as appropriate. When any of these agencies determine that the lands must be restricted, conserved, or locked up, it is an admission that they have failed in the charge given to them by this body. We have seen this occur in the West, where the federal government owns roughly 50% of our land. Most recently, the BLM attempted to circumvent Congress and administratively change the purposes of these lands from multiple use to a conservation policy that eliminated all other uses. The productivity of these lands is vitally important to the local communities that steward these resources. The federal government does not pay property taxes as a private landowner would. It is the revenue generated from the commodities produced that make up this deficit. In simple terms, if the people cannot utilize the natural resources, the dependent communities die. There will be no close services that can quickly rescue a stranded hiker or injured hunter, no gas stations and grocery stores, no necessary services that allow the public an opportunity to enjoy these lands. It is a simple principle. When the people's livelihoods are tied to the productivity of these lands, they take better care of the resources. This is why private lands are more productive than the federal lands. The small landowner's entire paycheck now and in the future is determined by how well they take care of their land today, not by how much they extract. They must steward their properties so that it continues to produce resources well into the future. That land is a small landowner's 401k retirement plan, and it's what they leave to their children. In the same way, the LASSO Act ties every citizen's future Social Security retirement funds to the productivity of our federal lands. It creates an intrinsic motivation for all of us to support actions that foster better stewardship of these lands. This brings us back to the reason we need the LASSO Act. It also allows Americans to directly benefit from the productivity of these lands as a part of their retirement. I was going to close with a story, but I think I'm going to run out of time. So let me just conclude. The LASSO Act, I think, is just a really smart approach that ties together everything that we should be driving from these federal lands and lets everybody benefit from them.
Thank you, Ms. Byfield, for your testimony. Now I'd like to recognize Ms. Jane Abraham, former chair of the American Museum of Women's History Congressional Commission. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ranking Member, and members of the committee, Thank you for inviting me to join you here today. This committee is being asked to approve a narrow land transfer necessary to carry out a decision Congress has already made and the Smithsonian has already validated. I proudly stand in support of House Resolution 1329 to permit the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum to be located within the reserve of the National Mall and to transfer the land to the Smithsonian for that use. While I currently serve as co-chair of the Advisory Council for the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum, I have personally been involved with the creation and establishment of the museum for over a decade. In 2014, I was Senator McConnell's appointee to the American Women's History Museum Congressional Commission, impaneled to determine the feasibility of establishing a women's history museum and recommend a pathway forward if we concluded such an institution should be established. That bipartisan commission was composed of 8 women from different professions, regions, and backgrounds, and I was elected as chair. I often tell the story of the first time the 8 of us met. Given that we were selected in a political setting with 4 of us Republican and 4 of us Democrat, you might say we were all a bit apprehensive about the situation. Well, that lasted about 10 minutes. As we went around the room to introduce ourselves and articulate why each of us had agreed to this assignment, it became clear that there was far more that connected us than divided us. We all envisioned a place that represented everyone and shined a light on the many roles and accomplishments of women that no one knew about. So we simply kicked politics to the side, rolled up our sleeves, and got to work. After 18 months of work, the commission unanimously recommended that such a museum was needed and should be part of the Smithsonian. The commission focused much of its effort on determining where this museum should be located. We established a list of 10 key criteria on which to evaluate potential sites, including location, private and public funding attractiveness, visitor attractiveness, and public transportation access. We did an extensive review of dozens of potential sites, including reuse and off-mall sites, but determined that the South Monument site met the commission's criteria and desire for a prominent location on the mall as one of our preferred sites. Since Congress passed the legislation establishing the museum and President Trump signed it into law, there has been a groundswell of bipartisan support from women and men throughout the country, and already over $71 million has been raised. While great progress is being made in terms of raising private funds and generating support for the museum, congressional approval is needed for the land to build the physical museum. In 2022, after a rigorous process examining over 24 locations, the Smithsonian Board of Regents recommended the South Monument site as the optimal location for the museum. Each year, millions of visitors come to the National Mall to learn about the past and present of our nation. This location and a new structure are paramount to ensuring the success of the museum. Just as importantly, it is where women should be represented, at the forefront of history, on America's front lawn, illuminating their stories in an originally designed building that reflects the spirit, essence, and strength of American women. This bill is needed to transfer this land to the Smithsonian. I want to thank Representative Malliotakis for sponsoring this legislation and Representatives Chu, De La Cruz, and Dingle for being original co-sponsors, as well as the other co-sponsors, including several of you on this committee. The bipartisan list of 230 co-sponsors is testimony to the widespread support this museum has throughout the country and the commitment for it to be built on the National Mall. In closing, I'd like to emphasize the following points. First, this is not authorizing legislation for the museum. Congress has already authorized it. And second, this is not appropriation legislation. There's no request for funding in this bill. This legislation's purpose is to allow the museum to have a home, to be built on the National Mall alongside many other Smithsonian buildings, accessible to visitors from all over the world. We urge Congress to support this legislation and provide us with a site that can serve as the primary repository of America's artifacts, stories, and memories of the contributions that American women have made to this country's founding and its experiences since. I appreciate the opportunity to testify today. I encourage unanimous support for this legislation, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Abraham, and thank you for all the work that you've put into this over the years. It's greatly appreciated. We're going to move on to questions. I'm going to start out with a couple questions. Ms. Byfield, I have a question in regards to the LASSO Act. Do you think it effectively incentivizes, I think something you cited, to make our public lands more productive?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more we can get the people tied, the people involved in the policy outcomes, the more we're going to see better stewardship of the land and productivity of the land. I mean, this is just a core principle of stewardship. And Representative Gosar alluded to it earlier in his questions.
And do you believe it leads to better management of our federal lands? Because we've seen some of our federal lands that have really just went into disrepair. And it's one of the objections that I've had is that, you know, before buying more land, as the federal government has contemplated, it's much like a homeowner whose roof is leaking. Why would you buy another home next to you if you can't take care of what you have now? Doesn't this incentivize better management of our federal lands?
Absolutely. I think if you trim the federal agency's budget, it's going to create more efficiencies. And let me give you an example, a real-life example. Two summers ago, we were in Jackson Hole with the Western Caucus, and the Forest Service drove us by land outside of Jackson that they wanted to purchase, or the government wanted to purchase, for $100 million. Then they get us up to the Forest Service site and give a presentation and explain that they need $218 million for backlog of maintenance. And I think all of us were sitting there thinking, why are you trying to purchase more land when we can't take care of what we have? So yes, what this does is it incentivizes them by trimming the budget really by 10% and paying the American people first.
Thank you for that, and I yield back, and I now recognize the author of the LASSO Act, Mr. Gosar, for his questions.
Ms. Byfield, we're going to kind of go down memory lane as a state, okay? So can you describe what is in the equal footing clause?
Well, the equal footing means that the states, as they came into the union, should be on equal footing with the other states. They should have been able to own their land.
Right, and there you go. That's what I was after. Now, how has the government actually rewarded that? They gave us PILT and secure rural schools, right? It's pennies on the dollar that they promised us, right?
Say that again?
It's pennies on the dollar what they promised, right?
Yes, that never comes close to actually paying for what they should be paid, and they're never fully authorized.
Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. So now, where does the multiple use doctrine originate? It's not a new concept, is it? And is it mandatory?
Yes, it is mandatory. Taylor Grazing Act is really the one that brought that forward, although it was a concept long before that.
Yeah. Some say the LASSO Act only benefits energy development. Under the multiple use doctrine of FLPMA, what other ways can these public lands be used?
Well, so multiple use, the brilliance of that concept is that a rancher can be grazing the land at the same time the miner can be using that land and mining it, and oil and gas can be produced, and timber can be harvested, all in the same piece of land, as well as recreationists have access to it. And really, when you have all those uses occurring on the land, they work together intrinsically. They support each other. And for instance, the rancher is the one who puts in the water developments. So like on our ranch, we made sure we had water every 3 miles because that's about what livestock needs in that area. Well, developing those waters also means the wildlife has more water. And so we see as livestock grazing increases and the waters were developed, so does wildlife. So those two things are intrinsic. Mining, oil and gas, timber, they develop a lot of the roads that allow hunters and recreationists to get back into very remote areas that otherwise they'd never be able to see. So all of those industries work together intrinsically and improve the land and really make it a better experience for all Americans.
So now, if the LASSO Act were enacted, do you think its success in leveraging those public lands to bolster Social Security, it would bolster Social Security as compared to just increasing the national debt? And that will spark, out of the general treasury fund and furthering the increasing the national debt. Will that spark some of the positive outlooks in regards to the financial markets?
Yeah, I think it will. I really think that once we tie America's retirement to the production of the federal lands, we're going to see people more invested in the actual policies on the ground. And so I think that's how we get people involved in better management, better stewardship of our land.
So like opportunities like CCC for young people to be involved with the land, improving those lands. Do you see that as also helping that cause?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, some have said that this will never accomplish anything. It's only worth right now 2 to 4 billion according to CBO scores. But I see something different because once you get involved here, you partake of what's in it for me. And I think that mantra goes far. Would you agree?
I would agree, definitely. You know, and I think we're going to see productivity increase because I think it was during the Obama administration, on the Bureau of Land Management's website, they were bragging about how they had reduced livestock grazing since FLPMA had been passed by 50%. On our forests right now, we know that grazing, those forests are not being grazed to the level that they are required to be grazed. And that, thankfully, is something that this administration is changing. I know on our own property in Nevada, we've believed we could have doubled the capacity and actually improved the resources by doing that. So our history over the last 30 years has been to shrink production, and we definitely have the capacity to increase production. So they may give us a low number or a number that people don't think is very worthwhile by putting 10% into the Social Security, but I think what you're going to end up with is ultimately a much bigger number as productivity is supported more.
So one real quick question. Can you describe why this is necessary based upon the Land and Conservation Health that was tried to be passed by the Biden administration?
Oh, absolutely. That was a scary proposal. First off, it is Congress that decides what the uses of the lands will be, as now Chairwoman Malloy had pointed out earlier. And what they tried to do was the agencies, the federal agencies tried to replace and circumvent Congress's authority by literally eliminating multiple uses. So instead of issuing a grazing permit, they would issue a conservation permit. And then when they issued that conservation permit, that permit said all other uses had to stop because now conservation was the highest and best use. So it was—
The gentleman's time has expired.
My apologies.
Thank you, Ms. Bashfield. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Gosar. I'll now recognize Mr. Min for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's good to see you up there. I want to thank and introduce Chris Ham, my witness. I want to thank you for your 19 years of service as a firefighter, currently a captain at the Orange County Fire Authority, president of the Orange County Firefighters. Also, look at you. You're a politician, our former politician, council member and mayor of the city of San Clemente. So thank you for your testimony. Really appreciate it. And I think you highlighted some of the challenges that are unique to Southern California and to areas that have lots of brush land. I want to highlight first one quick thing that you kind of touched on, but you'd mentioned that there's a lot of multi-million-dollar homes in the area that you serve in Orange County. What is the potential threat of if we had an LA-style fire, like the 2024, what would be the economic impact of that? Just back envelope in your mind, like what are we talking about here? Hundreds of millions, billions, tens of billions? What are we talking about?
Yeah, Congressman, thank you for the opportunity. I think it is right in alignment with the Palisades fire, billions of dollars in structural loss and untold number of lives. And I think really what this comes down to is risk versus benefit for the federal government perspective. And so I'm sure there's many other shrublands in the western United States, Colorado and Utah, that have similar shrubland risk, but they don't have the same life or property value risk that we see in Southern California.
And as you mentioned, it's right on top of some of these brush fire areas are right on top of homes. So we're talking huge risks here. And an ounce of prevention, as they say, is worth a pound of cure. So a little bit of money invested up front is probably worth it. Now, you touched on this a little bit, but I just wanted you to elaborate. From a firefighter's perspective, what makes the wildfires in Southern California so challenging to prevent and control?
Yeah, so prevention is a big issue for us. And so while we do a significant amount of mitigation work in our off season, which is now a smaller and smaller window every year, Really, it's about initial response and getting the appropriate number of resources to that area. But a bill such as yours that's going to study the specific impacts in our region, I think would help us better prepare not only next season, but the following season, year after year. And that's why I think it's
And we,
so
of course,
important.
have the Santa Ana winds that run through every year, now getting faster and faster than ever, that kind of whip up the winds and potentially turn a little bit of tinder into a huge wildfire. Now, you mentioned data. In 2021, the U.S. Forest Service conducted a comprehensive review on the effectiveness of different fire mitigation techniques, including fuel treatments, across North America. And what they found is that only projects in forested ecosystems had any concrete data. So I assume that if we were able to get more data to you around what fuel treatments and other fire mitigation efforts worked best, that would be helpful to you in trying to combat fires in an area like ours in Orange County that has so much chaparral.
That's correct, sir. And I think a more regional approach like you're describing is going to be beneficial not only to the residents and firefighters in Orange County, but across the western region.
Fantastic. And maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that, enhanced federal-local coordination. What do you think are some of the more obvious ways? Our bill, of course, would require the U.S. Forest Service to evaluate ways to enhance collaboration with federal and local partners on wildfire resilience. But do you have any ideas at top of your head on ways that the federal government right now, without this bill, could work better with regional partners?
Yeah, I think communication is probably the key. We have really good partnerships at the local and state level that exist today. And so really honing in on what has been done correctly for local and state jurisdictions and just mirroring that exact same programming with the federal government is really the key to success.
Fantastic. And I will just state, my view of this bill, it's an important step. It's not a panacea. This is not going to solve the problem of wildfires. But by starting to create the bridges and relationships, better relationships between federal, state, getting better data on what actually works in different ecosystems could help identify ways in which Congress and the U.S. Forest Service can further assist you, whether that's funding, whether that's dedicated resources down the line. So I just want to thank you again for your service. I know we've had some tough losses of personnel in the past decade in Orange County. I want to thank the brave firefighters for always being out there and fighting these fires, and thank you for your service, Chris.
Thank you, Congressman.
With that, I yield back.
Thank you. I'm now going to recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. Mr. Franzen, I understand this is your first time testifying in front of Congress, so I'm going to tell you a story really fast before I ask any questions. I did this once when I was a deputy county attorney down in Washington County. I came and testified before this committee. Rob Bishop was in this seat. I was in your seat. And I was really nervous about the questioning part. I didn't want a bunch of members of Congress grilling me. And until they started asking me questions, and I realized I was the most prepared person in the room. So you can relax. This is going to be really easy. You're also the smartest guy in the room on this topic. We're talking about working with the Forest Service to make sure we can finish the Bonneville Shoreline Trail through Fruit Heights in Davis County. Has the Forest Service consistently met with Fruit Heights to make sure that they're meeting your needs as far as being able to take next steps towards completing the trail?
So I would have to say that the county, Davis County, has been the big push on the Bonneville Shoreline Trail and has worked with the Forest Service for multiple years, trying to get that trail finished through Davis County, through their NEPA study, through the alignment. And Fruit Heights was a very challenging place with crossings going over a couple canyons and having to have bridges and those kind of things. When we did meet with the Forest for the first time, we were actually wanting to add additional trails. We have our current trails that are used, to the max, and we wanted to be able to spread that out and give more recreation opportunities to everybody who goes up there and uses those trails and connect the communities together, because we have surrounding communities that are right next to us, and that's their access to the trails from Kaysville to Farmington. And so as we started that process, it just was like, well, your part of this is kind of not the priority. The priority is the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Well, where's that at? Well, we're working on it. And it just never seemed to be moving. Even with the county, it just didn't seem to be moving. So our previous mayor said, well, we got to streamline things and we got to do things. And that's when we contacted Blake Moore's office, and it did. It accelerated things, I believe, to where I was invited to a meeting last Friday before I left with the Forest Service and the county, and they now have said, hey, the alignment's approved. You guys can start working on this summer, which was just kind of a surprise to me, and I think it was a surprise to the county how fast things changed. And if that's great, if that's the plan and we can move forward, I'm in support of that. I don't want to see money wasted, and because of communities and how much time is spent, I don't want to see that wasted. But we do want to see progress, and we just felt like there has not been any progress.
Thank you. You've kind of covered it, but is there anything else that you want to share with the committee about what has worked for your community and what hasn't in this process?
Well, I will tell you, a few years back, when Senator Hatch was here, we had some land conveyed to Fruit Heights, and we actually built the Fruit Loop Trail system on there, which is a mountain bike, which is very well known through Davis County and far beyond that. I know there's people that come from the surrounding counties that just come up to ride those trails to bring their small kids up, because there are so many different, trails, easy to hard. And I know the mountain bike teams from the high schools use that trail, and they're always looking for more places to ride because of there is so much use there. We have multiple volunteers that help come up and keep the garbage cleaned up, keep the trails in good condition. And one great thing about that is the local youth have a buy-in to the trail system. And they want to be there, and they want to make sure it stays clean. They make their own schedule where they set up service projects. They come up and pick all the garbage up and make sure things are still looking nice. And it's just a community that loves to do those kind of things because of the access, and we just want to see that continue.
Thank you. Ms. Byfield, good to see you. I had to cut you off earlier. I have 20 seconds left. Do you want to finish your answer about the conservation rule and why that would be detrimental?
Well, I think I pretty well covered it, but I think that we have to put some durability into preventing federal agencies from doing that again. And I think this is one way to do it. Congress holds the purse strings. So if Congress wants to pay the American people first before the federal agencies, I think that's a smart move.
Thank you. Now I'm out of time, so I will yield and recognize Mr. Hurd for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Metier, thank you for coming to Washington to testify in favor of the Crystal Reservoir Conveyance Act. I also want to thank Uray County Commissioner Lynn Padgett for being here today as well. I remember the city and county actually pulling me out on a freezing winter morning to look at this site, and it really clarified what was at stake here, and I appreciate it's a testament to your persistence with respect to this bill, so thank you for being here. Can you walk, Ms. Metier, can you walk the committee through the city's plan to finance, repair, and maintain the Full Moon Dam, and confirm that the city is prepared to assume full long-term responsibility for this liability?
Thank you, Congressman Hurd, for your question. Yes, so the city has done a fiscal review of where we're at in the ability to, first and foremost, make the repairs necessary and then manage the facility moving forward. So with that, after an analysis of our water rights portfolio, we're able to conduct some of these repairs through our general fund. Our general fund is through, of course, property and sales tax that contribute, and with that, we have over a 6-month reserve right now for operating in our general fund. So we feel very prepared to take on these expenses. In addition, in order to know what those expenses look like, we've already started talking with some geotechnical and civil engineers who have done an initial review, although without a conveyance, we don't want to go too far down that road, of what some of those pieces of repairs could look like. It's looking like they're all quite manageable from a city perspective and well within our scope and ability. So once a conveyance is conducted, we would look to start that process pretty much ASAP, knowing that we would still need to work with the Secretary of Agriculture to fully execute that conveyance.
Great, thank you for that. Can you tell me what specific risks the city of Uray faces without Crystal Reservoir, particularly during wildfire season and low flow periods? How would local ownership improve response capability?
Absolutely. And having a fire expert here, I will acknowledge I'm a little out of my expertise on that front. However, we, as a local story of ours, had a wildfire this last summer. It was very close in proximity to Crystal Reservoir. However, we were not able to use the bucket of water that Crystal Reservoir could have provided to put that fire out because it had been drained. Other buckets of water in the area were not accessible to aircraft carriers due to the trajectory of the aircraft that they would have to commit to in order to get the water out of the water source. Again, not technical. So I will say from a wildfire perspective, we've also had our emergency manager, Glenn Boyd, who has identified this is a key aspect in us being able to really hit those hard to reach places that the San Juan Mountains create with their geography. Yeah.
Very good. What level of support has this proposal received locally from residents, water users, and public safety officials?
It's been really heartwarming to see the regional support. So we've gotten support from our regional municipalities. We've received support from our Board of County Commissioners, our local sheriff who's in charge of wildfire preparedness and mitigation when a wildfire occurs. We've also received support from the Colorado River District, which is a big piece. I know, we're here in DC, but in Colorado, that's a big piece of that for our area. And so with that, we feel very strongly that there's a lot of regional support in order to get this done, and the city of Ouray is ready to take that on.
That's great to hear. And you have federal support as well, hopefully officially from my colleagues here on the House side too. So with that, Madam Chair, I would like to yield my remaining time to Mr. Gosar from Arizona.
I thank the gentleman from Colorado. Ms. Byfield, I want to kind of go over this one little section again. And it's about what happens with markets. Okay, so when we see better use and we see money coming into the environment, that's usually an impulse, right? It causes a growth spurt, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the multiple use is pretty good paying jobs, right, for rural America? And mining jobs, energy jobs. I mean, this is pretty influential. I know cattle, I hope we get our beef back down to, so it's not $54 for a steak, but all those things act as an impetus so that we see the markets change. That could be even a stock market change, right? Or a bond market.
Yeah, I think what we forget about those uses is they are really the infrastructure of the West. So like your rancher, your miner, they're the people who are sitting on the fire boards, on the school district boards, on all of that. We find that dollar that comes out of those productive resources stays in the community and turns over many, many, many times. And so you just have this, the more production, the more the local economy is raised up financially. And there's a really good example of what happens when we eliminate production. And we can see that happen when the Conservation Reserve Program was put in by the USDA. And people were paid to take their lands out of production. And when you go through the West in some of these areas, and we see it in Texas, you can identify the communities that were once very vibrant, but once all those conservation lands came into place, now you have boarded up storefronts in the downtown, and you see that all through these areas. That's what you get when you don't produce from the land. But when you produce from the land, that dollar turns over and over again locally, at the state level, and then ultimately up into the national economy.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to submit to the record. I ask unanimous consent to enter the record 4 letters of support from 60 Plus Association, the Association of Mature Americans Citizens, the Coalition of Arizona, New Mexico Counties for Stable Economic Growth, and Domestic Energy Producers Alliance.
So ordered.
And Mr. Chairman, my time has expired.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Moore for 5 minutes for his questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Franzen, again, thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time to fly out to the Capitol for this very important hearing. Could you describe the importance of recreation to the city of Fruit Heights and how this impacts your role as city manager?
I really believe that any kind of recreation where people can get outside builds a community. Our community is a bedroom community. We have one commercial business in Fruit Heights City. So recreation is what brings our community together. Both families, seniors, all that, and the mountains being right there and being able to access that land is a benefit to everyone.
Could you just also speak to, like, the ability to actually connect these two, right? I mean, we all know recreation is important, but for folks that don't necessarily get the Wasatch Front, large Wasatch Mountain Range, Bonneville Shoreline Trail is the old Lake Bonneville that existed in the bed, and there's just all along that Wasatch Front, there's pretty continuous trail network. But what about near Fruit Heights?
So in Fruit Heights, once again, the Bonneville Shoreline Trail right now is not there. There are places that people do go up and hike, but the amazing thing about, I will tell you, the Bonneville Shoreline Trail is it connects clear into Salt Lake and beyond Salt Lake south and goes into Weber County. And Weber County has a lot of that trail that is built, which Davis County would tie into, but it just creates miles of recreation where people can see honestly how beautiful Utah is. When you're up there on that bench and you're walking or you're riding your bike and you can look over the whole valley and see how much it's grown over the years or how much, people have that opportunity. And it's just one of those things that just builds communities, it builds a state.
You mentioned during Ms. Malloy's questions to you that you've seen some uptick in interest. The Forest Service has been more engaged recently. Do you attribute that to the existence of this legislation and how it's progressing?
I will tell you, I was really surprised when I got called into the meeting last week and just, the Forest Service was there. I was excited that they were moving forward because for 2 years we had not heard anything as far as contact. I know the county had even talked to them and things were just moving very slowly. And it was just like pretty surprising that things had moved forward. I don't know if this legislation's what did it, or if they finally just get everything approved and moved forward.
Well,
I don't know.
What we've heard today, it feels like there's strong commitments to be able to move forward regardless of the status of this legislation. I'm thrilled that we're this far along and we want to continue to see this through. But if they're going to work with our county and municipal leaders, like Ms. Malloy and I are thrilled to be a part of moving this along, and we want to be supportive however we can and keep pushing in areas. But we got really good commitments out of the Forest Service, and I take them for their word that we can move forward. With that, I yield back. Thank you.
Gentlemen yields. I want to thank members for your questions here today, and especially want to thank our witnesses for your testimony. Thank you very much. Members of the subcommittee may have some additional questions for our witnesses today. We will ask that you respond to those in writing. Under Committee Rule 3, members of the subcommittee must submit questions to the subcommittee clerk by 5 p.m. on Friday, February 13th, 2026. The hearing record will be held open for 10 business days for those responses. If there is no further business, without objection, the Subcommittee on Federal Lands stands adjourned.